Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to our read-through of Mecha Ace. This is very likely to be the very last chapter, so here we go. Episode 9, A Desperate Attack. Codec's Last Hope. Vedrian Wormhole Aperture, Vedria System. You exit the wormhole at full speed. At the leading edge of the Codec Advance, combat armatures and warships amass together as a single body, charging boldly forward into enemy space. Before you, the enemy fleet is in chaos. Captain Balin's plan has worked perfectly. Awesome. The enemy's formation has been broken, its battleships and combat armatures clustered into chaotic tangles around the silvery bulk of Crown Station. One or two of the enemy's vessels have been destroyed outright. The scattered shells of their hulls are the only thing barring your way forward. However, they begin responding quickly to the new and unexpected attack. Even as you and your own allies charge deeper into the Vedria system, the Imperial battle lines begin to reform and groups of enemy combat armatures coalesce into coherent units and begin to rush forward towards the Codec fleet. Your eyes, however, fix themselves not on the chaotic tangle of the massive enemy force, but on the dark and sinister shape directly before you, larger than any warship, turning ponderously to face you as it slowly unfolds. Lightbearer. Within seconds, the Imperial combat armatures rush in to stem your advance, throwing themselves in front of the relentless attack of your desperate allies. With frantic bravado, they fling themselves against the Codec force, to no avail. Their numbers are too few and their coordination non-existent. Their nerves still rattled, first by the exploding civilian hulls, then by this impossibly ferocious surprise attack. The few enemy machines which sally forth to meet you stand no chance. The entire fleet opens fire, and the blackness of space is lit up by a hail of orange tracer. Most of the Imperial Mecha are swept from existence by a storm of cannon fire. Pale blue light lances out at the one or two survivors, reducing them to shattered debris and glowing wreckage a second later. Unhindered, the Codec fleet charges forward. More Imperial mecha and ships move to stop you, but they have no desire to meet the fate of their doomed companions. They advance more deliberately and cautiously as a single lumbering force. They will not be able to reach the Codec force for some time. For now, the way forward to the Lightbearer is clear. With the last enemies between you and your objective dealt with, the rest of your allies peel off to face the bulk of the Imperial fleet. Only you and Hawkins continue on to the Lightbearer itself. With every other ship and combat armature will be needed to buy you time you and the defector need to take over the Imperial superweapon and bring it to bear on the enemy. The main body of the enemy fleet still have the advantage of numbers and sheer firepower, but their formations waver. On the other hand, your own allies bristle aggressively, needling the ponderous enemy force with skirmishing attacks and long-range missiles. Only a few of the missiles strike home, and a few of the probing strikes draw blood, but the tenacity of your allies is comforting all the same. They will buy you and Hawkins as much time as they need to hijack the Lightbearer. It should be more than enough. Thankfully, the Imperial superweapon has no defensive weapons of its own, and whatever defenders that might have been were destroyed by the first wave of rigged civilian ships, or are currently locked in battle with the Codec fleet. It only takes a few seconds for the two of you to approach the Lightbearer itself. The Imperial weapon is no longer trying to open up into firing position. The second you manage to break through, the Lightbearer's controllers apparently decided to hedge their bets. Now, the enemy superweapon is safely encased behind its massive slabs of armor. Your weapons cannot damage it, but neither can its powerful cannon turn upon you and the Codec fleet. You keep a wary eye open for any enemy mecha lucky enough or skilled enough to break through your own fleet's formation as Hawkins moves towards the inactive superweapon. Establishing comm link, the other pilot announces. Link established. Inputting codes. A moment later, Hawkins' mouth forms into a grin, almost pained smile. I have control. And then the comm link goes silent. Oh man. Really? Come on. There is a moment of complete confusion as you try to make sense of Hawkins' sudden silence. Have his comms failed somehow? Are the Lightbearer systems causing interference? You try opening up a new channel. Hawkins, this is Mithril Lead. Respond. Still silence. Oh no. A glance behind you shows a momentary flash of the battle. Codec forces being pushed back, overwhelmed by sheer numbers. The Caliburn fights on at the very heart of the battle. Battered by a storm of Imperial fire, your home carrier spits defiance at the half a dozen so ships which presses forward, eager to score such a juicy kill. Around her, the ships of the Codec fleet are dying, blasted apart by the missile salvos of Imperial warships and the slashing cuts of enemy mecha, despite the best attempts of the swiftly dwindling Codec fleet armatures still attempting to mount a defense. You try again. Hawkins, reactivate the Lightbearer and get it into firing position. If we hit the Imperial fleet, we can finally bring an end to this damn war. This time, you get a response, but not the one you were waiting for. Hawkins reappears on your comm screen. I'm afraid that I would consider such an outcome to be unacceptable. The next thing you know, you are staring down the barrel of Hawkins' particle beam cannon. Oh, do we... Do we ask why? Or do we give him the fight straight out? Let's ask why first, and then... Your words seem to have little effect on the other pilot, almost as if he had been planning to be the recipient of such an accusation for a long time. I've not betrayed your side. My loyalties have been to my own heart and mind for a long time. I swore no oaths when I offered to help your side with the Lightbearer. I have broken no promises, turned my back on no loyalties. You keep a tight lid on your emotions as you lock eyes with the other pilot, carefully refusing to admit any emotion which might be taken as a sign of weakness. So, now you have the Lightbearer under your control, and you're not going to use it to help us. The Imperial fleet isn't going to take you back. That implies you have your own agenda to pursue, doesn't it? Hawkins' eyes narrow behind his mask. I did not lie to you when I spoke of my disgust for this. He waves a languid hand at the bulk of the Lightbearer beside him. Abomination. I have no intention of allowing the Empire to strip the bravery, the skill, and the decency from war by using such a weapon as this. He leans forward, his voice low and dangerous. However, if you think that I would allow the rebellion to use this device to end the war, you are gravely mistaken. This war has brought out the noblest and most extraordinary qualities in ordinary people, and made them heroes, paragons, and great leaders. I have no wish to see those same qualities wither away under the bitter winter of peace. Hawkins' hand gives a dismissive flick, as if the concept of lasting peace, so distasteful to him, were no more than dust. The Lightbearer will be destroyed. The war will continue the way it should, and humanity will be stronger for it. We have no loyalties to him. He's freaking insane. I agree with you, but I won't betray Codec. What part are we agreeing with? You're insane. You know what? You're insane. Hawkins doesn't seem frayed at all by your reply. In fact, your words seem to bounce right off him. It is not insane to look beyond one's limited view of one's own circumstance and do what is necessary for the betterment of our species. I merely wish to take humanity, all of humanity. I merely wish to make humanity, all of humanity, stronger. Is that so very wrong? It isn't the way you're doing it, you shoot back. If this war continues, millions of people will die, and they'll die uselessly, because we could end this whole thing today. The other pilot shakes his head, a look of pity on his face. Very well, then. If you insist on stopping me, I shall offer you a chance to try. Best me in combat, and I shall turn over control of the Lightbearer to you. Events certainly have taken a turn for the bizarre. If you beat Hawkins, then the Lightbearer and its immense power would be under your control to do with as you saw fit. Then again, beating the ex-Imperial Ace is far from a simple proposition, considering Hawkins' current track record for trustworthiness. If it's a fight you want, yeah, okay, good. We got to do the little speech. The enemy turned ally turned enemy again flashes you a confident smirk as he launches his machine at yours, strike to poised to strike. Defend yourself. Time seems to slow as Hawkins draws his Roland's monosaber and rushes towards you. Tactical options flow through your mind. You consider your possible course of action as they flash through your thoughts with a swiftness born of a whole war's worth of experience. A drawn-out slugging match is out of the question. It will not be long before the Codex fleet is overwhelmed by sheer numbers of the Imperial forces, and if you are to turn the Lightbearer upon the enemy fleet before they reach and overwhelm you, you must not waste any time. The most direct response would be to meet Hawkins up close, in melee. It would be the most aggressive option, the one most likely to take out Hawkins swiftly, but it is also the riskiest, especially against a highly skilled pilot like the Blue Mask. Alternatively, you could try and keep your distance and attack Hawkins from afar. However, your opponent's machine has powerful ranged weapons of its own, and you will have to be quick on your feet to avoid getting it in return. Another option would be to call for help from your allies. You need to keep a cool enough head to evade Hawkins' attack and make the call simultaneously, but it might give you enough of a momentary advantage to bring Hawkins down. Unfortunately, any forces you call to assist you won't be able to help holding back the Imperial fleet, which would weaken the Codex defense considerably. Lastly, you might still be able to talk the enemy ace down, even if you aren't the most eloquent speaker. A personal appeal might just get through. Oh no, we are taking him out with our storm weapon. We've been freaking using this thing and blowing away people left, right, and center. It's time to go. It's on, boy. You fall back as Hawkins advances, trying to get a clear shot without allowing your highly skilled opponent to get close enough to strike first. Your battle quickly becomes a chase, with his mecha pursuing yours as you try to win a few seconds with which to aim and fire. You send the Lionheart twisting and turning in tight, angular patterns, but Hawkins is right behind you. This approach isn't working. You need a new plan. Hawkins lunges for you again, mono-saber at the ready. You spot your chance and take it. Suddenly, you bring the Lionheart around to face Hawkins' onrushing machine, and drive right into your opponent's attack. Only at the last instant do you hurl your machine to the side, letting your foe's mecha barrel past you. Hastily, you turn around and bring your particle storm rifle to bear on the exposed back of Hawkins' machine. A fraction of a second is all you have to make the shot before Hawkins has a chance to react. You squeeze the trigger. Hit, hit, hit. A burst of fire tears squarely into the back of Hawkins' machine. Your opponent's mecha lurches to the side, its armor crumpling under the impact of your particle rifle's fire. Yes! Explosions ripple across the armature's body as the thrusters fire erratically, sending the machine tumbling away violently. The thrusters on the Blue Mask's machine choke and vomit gouts of blue, hot flame as secondary explosions lash across the body of the stolen Imperial prototype, shattering armor and tearing apart massive cords of the synthetic muscle. Its veneers sputter and quit, leaving Hawkins' machine drifting in space, its armor shattered and its thrusters useless. In other words, defenseless. Beautiful. We just took out. Hawkins looks back at you through the comlink, his mask cracked and battered, his pale skin streaking with soot and blood and sweat. Well done, he manages, in between hard deep breaths. You've bested me and earned your prize. Hawkins looks down for a second, entering something into his cockpit interface, then looks back up. I'm giving you control of the Lightbearer. A new notice appears on your status display. Exterior weapon detected. Interface complete. Full access granted. Strategic weapon system Lightbearer. Ready for orders. Beautiful. The Lightbearer's interface is remarkably simple. It seems that the developers had put the operating system together in a big hurry. The Empire seems as desperate to end this war as Kodak is. It only takes you a few seconds to figure out the basic workings of the massive Imperial superweapon. Good thing, too, because the Kodak fleet is mere moments away from being overrun by the vastly larger Imperial force. If you're going to enact the last phase of Captain Balin's plan and use the Lightbearer to wipe out the Imperial fleet, this could be your last chance to do it. On the other hand, while it is the obvious thing to do, other dissenting thoughts flow through your mind even as you begin the process of activating the Lightbearer's firing systems. There is, however, an even riskier option. While the original plan calls for the annihilation of the enemy fleet, you see no reason why you couldn't try to use the superweapon to force them to surrender. After all, Kodak is desperately short on warships. Capturing the entire Imperial Grand Fleet for the rebellion would be an unprecedented coup for the Kodak, and would save the lives of hundreds of thousands of men and women on board those Imperial warships, many of whom are guilty of nothing but serving their country. All you'd have to do is be persuasive enough to convince the enemy to give up. If you use the Lightbearer to destroy or capture the Imperial fleet, it would not necessarily mean the end of the war. The Kodak Defense Committee might push for an immediate counterattack, and the Imperial military still has other fleets. The reprieve that such a victory might win for Kodak would be small indeed. However, having the Lightbearer under your control also means that you are in a position of great power. If you shifted your aim a little, you could threaten both fleets with annihilation, and force them to accept a ceasefire. That might be a better chance of not only ending the battle, but turning into a full peace agreement. It would also mean effectively betraying Kodak as well. What do you do? Ooh, do we go for the intimidation or we just straight up fire? Ooh. You know, ideally, I would threaten them, and then blow them away. Then threaten the rest with ceasefire. You know what? Whatever. Let's blow them away, I guess. So be it. You enter the targeting data into the Lightbearer's fire control system. The Imperial's superweapon massive petals slowly begin to open from the immense form as the immense form begins to reorient itself towards the not-too-distant battle between the two fleets. A timer appears on Lightbearer's system interface. Estimated time until ready to fire, you suppose? It gives you maybe a minute before it opens fire on your selected target. So, you have what you want, Hawkins says, almost whispers through the comm line. What of me? What of Hawkins? His machine is no longer a threat. With veneers, it can hardly move in the microgravity of space. The pilot inside, however, might be a different matter. Still, how will you deal with the arrogant, supremely skilled man who began this war as your enemy, risked everything to become your ally, only to betray you and try to kill you once more? Is he a defeated enemy who is no longer a threat? Potential ally, or a loose end to be tidied up permanently? Again, I guess we do the mercy. Just leave them for somebody else? You know what, if he comes back after us... You move your Lionheart up to Hawkins' wrecked machines. What about you? I don't want to kill you. Hawkins' eyebrow raises from behind his mask. Really? You don't? He asks, almost surprised. You shake your head as you pull out one of the Lionheart's emergency flares. This war's taken enough of my friends from me. I don't want to lose another one, you admit. You latch the flare onto the scarred and heat-blistered armor of the blue and silver machine and set the activation timer for 1 hour. The flares are visible to the naked eye and to the sensors of any ship within 100,000 kilometers. Hawken notices what you're doing almost immediately. An act of mercy? Perhaps we shall meet again, Tomino, on better terms. You nod. I sure as hell hope so. Good luck. A firm shove from the Lionheart sends Hawken's crippled machine gently drifting off into empty space. With Hawkins dealt with, you have a more pressing matter at hand. The Lightbearer's countdown is finished. It stands before you, unfolded in its terrible entirety. In place of the countdown on the interface panel, there is only a series of targeting coordinates and a single strobing red button. You check the coordinates against the Lionheart's own. They're a perfect match. The Lightbearer is pointed right where you want it. There's only one thing left to do now. Fire. I'm firing my laser. You press the button. A plume of light shoots from the Lightbearer's aperture, a beam of indescribable brightness cutting through the darkness of space like a blinding blade of a divine sword. Your cockpit begins to shake, your machine caught in the red-hot exhaust of the coolant system. Jets of superheated gas buffet the Lionheart as the Imperial superweapon's output intensifies, the light of its fire opening brighter and brighter, a maw of radiance fit to swallow the universe. Finally, it becomes too much for your hull cameras. Their overload controls kick in, shutting down until the intense light is gone, to both spare your eyes and the lenses that are your only window to the outside universe. Even though your cameras are blind, your tactical display still works. First, it shows a thin beam of intense energy cutting through the massive blotch that is the Imperial Grand Fleet. Then, the enemy formation is drowned in a beam of light, a part of the universe being seared from existence. Then, the readings fade, the shaking subsides, and your cameras come back on. Where the amassed ships and combat armatures of the Grand Imperial Fleet were, there is now nothing. No returns on your tactical display, no thruster plumes or shining hulls in sight. You've done it. Dozens of ships, hundreds of mecha, hundreds of thousands of lives, wiped out in an instant, all at your command. Some might call it a cheap price to pay for victory. You're not too sure. Only a few Imperial warships and mecha remain on your scope, the ones already locked in close combat with the Codec fleet. Now, their guns fall silent. New signals fill the comm frequencies. The survivors of the enemy fleet are surrendering. The battle is over. The day is done. As for tomorrow, well, it seems you still have a war to fight. Another achievement, just following orders. It's not a particularly nice achievement, but whatever. I will leave the epilogue for one more part as a kind of wrap-up and conclusion. So I will talk to you guys later.